Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, I'm going to be doing two different looks for you using the holiday palette from Too Faced. This is the Hot Buttered Rum palette. So I wanted to do a couple different looks. I will tell you, my eyes aren't sensitive to certain things, but they are sensitive to like removing and reapplying makeup a couple times. So I could only do two looks because I already knew like my eyes are not going to cooperate. I do want to give a disclaimer right now. If you notice, the inner part of my lash right now is sticking up. It is like playing so many games with me. This inner corner will always do this where it like waters up and then the lash just like refuses to stick. No matter if I put some matte shadow on it, dry it off, reapply some glue, try to put it back on, like no matter what, it's a brat and it's still gonna keep doing this. So I'm sorry about that. If it annoys you, because I can't help it enough, try to fix it a million times. This palette is like a really beautiful kind of neutral palette. Let's see, you get 3 metallic shades, you've got 4 matte shades, and then the deepest brown shade is like a matte base with a little bit of like a gold shimmer flecks running through it. But when you apply that color on the eye, it's pretty much, it just looks like a matte shade, which a lot of matte shades that have that glitter running through it have the tendency to do that. They'll kind of look like they have shimmer, but when we actually put them on, it's not really that noticeable. You also get a mirror, and it does have a scent to it. It says it smells like hot buttered rum. I don't know what hot buttered rum smells like, so I'm guessing that's it. Okay, so on the packaging, it says you get 6 shadows that are 0.8 grams, and then 2 shadows that are 0.95 grams, which are the larger ones. So I just went and looked at a couple of my palettes, and it seems like most standard eyeshadows are generally between like 1 gram to 1.5. And then of course you have palettes like, yes, you have palettes like the Juvia's Place palettes that are the bigger eyeshadows that like obviously get a lot more color. So in terms of the price, this was $25 for that amount of product. I'll put it right here for kind of the breakdown of how much that runs per gram of product. And I will compare that to the regular Too Faced palettes and if it is like a steal for you or not, if it's a better value. In playing with this palette, I did find that the colors were very blendable. The shimmer colors definitely work better with a finger. That's how I ended up using them most of the time, was with my finger. When put on with a brush, they were kind of just like meh, you know? They showed up, but they weren't like, you know, blowing my mind. But when I did apply them with my finger, they showed up really nice and intense and beautiful. The mattes blended like a freaking dream, so pigmented. They showed up so well and they blended into each other so easily. I had no troubles. There was literally no patchiness at all. If you've been watching my channel long enough, you guys know that I really hate shadows that have a lot of kickback. I feel like it's a waste of product. Some people, it doesn't bother them, but to me, that is wasting product when you put your brush in it and so much of it just ends up like flying everywhere. And I did not find that these shadows had any issues with kickback. The mirror was big enough that I actually did my whole face makeup and my eye makeup with just the hand mirror, and I didn't feel like it was too small or anything. I think it's a really great size. The compact is metal, it's a great weight, it is very slim, and I really enjoy it. So I give this palette 2 thumbs up. Now I do want to share with you guys a possible dupe for this palette. You guys know that I bought this palette not too long ago. This is the Morphe 9D Painted Desert palette. It does have a lot of very similar tones to it. I am going to swatch this palette and then I will swatch this next to the colors that are pretty similar. But as you can see, just looking at them, they do have a lot of similarities across the board. The only thing I will say is that with this palette, you do have the option of going with a more cool tone look. If you use this matte here as well as some of these shades here, whereas this palette, you can really only get a warm look. Okay guys, so here are the comparison swatches between the Too Faced palette and that Morphe palette. So as you can see, they are actually like extremely similar. And I didn't think they'd be this similar, but I'm kind of really shook right now. So basically how I have it is goes Morphe, Too Faced, Morphe, Too Faced, Morphe, Too Faced, just like that. So like I said, this is the palette compared to the Morphe 9D. So you can see these all here are almost exactly the same kind of color, which is crazy to me. This is the only one that's a little different. The Morphe one's a little more yellow, whereas the Too Faced one has a bit more of like a white tone to it. But I'm actually kind of really surprised how similar they are. Yeah, that's really actually kind of crazy. But I mean, I have tried the Morphe one. The Morphe one does perform just as well in terms of pigmentation and blendability as this palette. So it's really up to you if you feel like you would need this palette or if you feel like you'd rather get the Morphe one. The only thing that's gonna be a difference maker between this palette and the Morphe palette is that this palette you do get the more neutral kind of shades here, as well as the like light cream color. So if you want to also have those options within a palette, then you could go for this one. However, if you were looking at this palette for the yellows, for the really warm tones, that Morphe palette is honestly like really similar. And that one is $12 for one more shade than you do get in the Too Faced. So for this first look, I'm starting with the shade Vanilla Extra, and that is going all over my brow bone. And then I'm gonna dip into the shade Bottoms Up, which is another matte shade from this palette. This is the more matte, cool kind of brown. And I'm just gonna build this up all the way across my crease. And for both of those shades, I use the Morphe JH30 brush. Now I'm taking the shade Warm and Fuzzy and applying this all over my lid. I did build this up a little bit and I am using my finger on the other eye. I started with the brush, and like I said earlier in the video, the brush, you kind of like, it's okay, but it's not awesome. So I just went in with my finger this time just to get like a really, really, really impactful kind of lid color. And then after that, I went in with just a tiny bit of the shade Spiked on a MAC 217, and I just really softly blended that on the outer corner and kind of buffed it in because I wanted some depth, but I didn't want it to be too dark. I then took the shade Whipped Cream on a small brush and I just packed this on my inner corner and lightly blended it on top of the lid as well. Now I'm just adding a couple coats of mascara. This is the e.l.f. Plump It Up Volumizing Mascara, and then we will be finished with this look. So for our more intense look, I did speed up the footage a little bit because this look took me a lot longer. So I'm starting with the same brush, the JH30, and I am taking the shade Buttered Rum, and I'm basically building this up. As you can see, I keep placing it first on the inner corner and then slightly blending it out towards the rest of the crease. I'm not pulling this out really far. I'm keeping it right within like my lid space. And then I went in the shade Cinnamon with a smaller brush. This is a Morphe M507, and I'm just kind of building this up in my crease. I wanted to get this a little more precise, and I'm going to build this up all the way across my crease as well as on the outer and inner corners of my eyes, and I'm making sure to blend this in really well to that Buttered Rum color. And then just to make sure I had a really nice blend, I'm taking the Buttered Rum shade one more time on the big fluffy brush just to buff out those edges. And now I'm gonna go into the shade Spiked. My eye shape doesn't really love a halo eye, so I'm just putting this darkest color in the outer corner because if I put it in the inner corner, it looks kind of weird on my eye shape, so I'm just putting that on the outer corner. I then took a little bit of my Peaches and Cream glitter base and tapped that right in the center of my lid, and then I'm going into the shade Born to Rum, which is the beautiful bronzy golden shade, and I'm just packing that on the center of my eye with my finger. This shade is gorgeous. And then I took just a tiny bit of Warm and Fuzzy and just tapped that right in the center to add a little bit more pop. So now for the inner corner, I'm going to take the shade Whipped Cream again, like the last look, except after I placed that, I went into the shade Warm and Fuzzy, which is that little bit of a darker bronzy shade, and layered that right on top because I wanted like a bright inner eye, but I didn't want it too white because this eye look is a little darker, so that's why I put that little bronzy shade on top just to tone it down a little bit. And then for the lower lash line, I'm first going in with my e.l.f. No Budge eyeliner in the shade Black, and I am placing that on my waterline and all the way across the lower lash line as well as my tight line. And then I'm just going to buff that out with a little pencil brush. Once that is buffed out, I am taking the shade Spiked and running that all the way across on top of that liner and just kind of overlapping it and then subtly kind of blending it down. And once it's smudged, I'm also going to kind of bring that along to the top corner just to kind of marry the top to the bottom. I'm then going in with the shade Cinnamon and blending that down. And then I'm gonna go in with the shade Buttered Rum one more time and blend that down as well with our kind of smaller crease brush. And then once all that blending is done, you're pretty much done. I'm just gonna add some mascara. I'm throwing on some lashes, which are the House of Lashes Iconic LITE. And then that is gonna be the completed look. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, found it helpful. I hope this helped you make a decision on whether or not you wanted to get this palette. Please let me know what you think of the video down below, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you're new, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.